Design Indaba Conference is almost like a creative World Cup. We've got the best creative exponents and leaders and thinkers from all around the world at the conference. The whole world's represented. We feel very indulged that they're able to take a week off their rather busy schedules, and we welcome them warmly to Cape Town, and we make sure that they have an absolutely memorable week. There's something about this context that makes everybody feel a lot less guarded and more embracing of each other. That's amazing in terms of bonding and spending some time together. So many of the events are designed in a way to be able to create that.
Good evening, everybody. It's truly really exciting to be in a room where there's so much inspirational creativity and independent thinking.
And I wish all of you speakers your best presentations ever over the next 3 days. Thank you very much.
Design Indaba for us is quite an important event. It's positioned South Africa as a lifestyle destination for over 15 years.
There's some alchemy about Cape Town and South Africa that's just truly beautiful. And things happen. You can't shoehorn Design Indaba into a particular theme. Design Indaba has always been about crazy eclecticism.
Dumelang, molweni, goeiemorgen, bonjour, bon dia. Welcome to this year's Design Indaba. I wish you well in your deliberations.
Design becomes quite interesting when in some respects it responds to its place, but it also transcends its place.
If you believe in a new world, education is the most sustainable thing you can invest in.
There's a huge amount of handwork in one of these things. We sort of use up to the minute 17th century technology.
You have like 300 pages of things like that, and people could go completely mad making it.
There's so many people that are designers and generations of designers, and everyone from Massimo Vignelli, who's here, to young design students.
In the creative fraternity, there's this talk that you must do your best presentation ever at the Design Indaba. The kind of people that we pick for Design Indaba are all at the top of the respective professions. Design Indaba just gives you that stretch. The only part of the theme is that all of us talk about our process.
With this industrial process, we can make something that's so detailed that you can't actually make it by hand anymore.
There's a common enthusiasm and there's a common sort of lovely atmosphere of people appreciating other people who make things. It's just this sort of a flow of wonderful different talks.
One is doing finance, one is doing research, one is doing design, one is doing catering. You see it also happening in society at large, in new companies organized in a new way.
Where are we going to find the voices to help us understand what design means in our life and how it can have a greater impact on the life around us?
I had a lot of pleasure to spend days in a black room, which seems to be totally insane if you consider the beauty of this country, but things are happening here.
Craig, welcome to Design Indaba 2010.
I thought I'd walk you through a presentation about how we've gone from first reading the genetic code to learning how to write the genetic code. And part of writing the genetic code is part of new design.
The reason people come to conferences is to make connections with other people. We have a lot of students here. We have a lot of really widely diverse audience in terms of people from all over the world, people in different disciplines. And I think the key connection can happen between the audience and a speaker in the auditorium. Those are my twin brothers. In front of me, their names are Ronald and Donald.
And we've got one of the most appreciative audiences you could ever hope to get. A very, very sophisticated, very knowledgeable audience.
The first version of this we made now probably 4 or 5 years ago, something like that.
This is your absolutely beautiful Mac laptop.
We're just really interested to somehow bring something from the actual world into the virtual world.
People go out there and they say sometimes, the way they described it to me was that you feel these waves of love coming out to you, and somehow the other that's so heartwarming and so disarming, and you just almost want to give a lot more.
76 distinct colors of glitter in 9 different styles, shapes, and finishes.
Lab, it's a huge business now. Millions and millions of dollars.
And you get this level of intimacy that comes through in some of those presentations. Some of these things you can't legislate for, you can't plan for, and there's a certain chemistry and a certain alchemy about that.
You start thinking and you think, oh, hey, Brett, the brain is giving me ideas. This is excellent. I'm going to go with this. I'm going to run with it. It was great to have that connection with the audience and that they just understand what I was talking about. And it got more intimate in some ways than I thought it was going to be.
It's a big risk to have an intimate conversation with 1,000 people, and I'm not sure it would have worked in the US or elsewhere. My only contribution to the whole discussion about design and creativity and innovation has been in the space between the space of connecting design to business and showing business over a decade and a half the power of design. It was possible to create a little bit of chemistry in a vast auditorium here. It wouldn't have worked elsewhere.
Come.
It's just so amazing to find that our alumni are coming through as delegates to the conference.
It was fantastic to be able to just sit and listen and focus on the other speakers. So in 3 days, I get a kind of workout for the mind. I get a chance to really think about design in terms of East and West, North and South, young and old, and all in one place.
この場を借りてここに呼んでくださった皆さんに感謝。期待以上に素晴らしいと思います。上がってるんだなっていうふうに感じます。こんなにいいんです。
Before I came here, I couldn't imagine how South Africa is and also Design Indaba is. I'm so amazing. I'm very satisfied. Yeah.
We're gonna report the event afterward, and I think great lineup, great speakers, everything is just unbelievable.
It's so important for the creative community to go outside of their constituency and bring more people into it. And so we almost do this with an evangelical zeal. And we make sure that even in the way we market the conference, that it's not just the creative community talking to each other. And 65% of the conference is really creative practitioners and 35% being business. More people in corporate South Africa are starting to give it the attention it deserves.
We're very honored to be, one of the media associated with Design Indaba, to be able to channel all this wonderful equity and information that we get at the Design Indaba out into the wider community.
All the trend to social media and the trend to engagement, I think, gone are the days where people just sit back and just want to view something. I think these days it is about active engagement. We couldn't do what we do if it weren't for design.
Our messaging of advancing design and advancing creativity and advancing innovation really has fallen on fertile ground in corporate boardrooms all around the country. We have had less success, perhaps, with the bureaucrats and the public sector, but the private sector are the real heroes of Design Indaba. We're so blessed to have the bluest of blue chip companies in the country supporting us.
You tend to, being a food manufacturer, you focus on food. You not see food in the greater context of social, global macroeconomic issues that are taking place. We're happy to be involved with such a thinking process and a mindset change.
All great ideas start on paper, and we have to be here and we have to support and show support to the industry that we're in.
We are very encouraged by, firstly, the excellent organization of Design Indaba, and secondly, by the innovation that's coming out of the space every year. In a nutshell, they can expect the unexpected.
Cape Town is a very, very cosmopolitan city, and people around the world know that. We bring them to what is essentially one of the top design shows in the world with a bit of Cape Town culture. I think that's the warmest welcome you can get.
It was a major coup for us to get this event here tonight. Very much about showcasing just how amazing South Africa really is. It's not just about the actual design industry, but it's about building a culture in the country that can progress us to the next level. And that's really where our investment lies.
It's been great how well organised it is, and that we're all kind of allowed to sort of mix with the speakers. I mean, allowed, but you know what I mean? But sort of get to meet people informally and talk, and it's really useful from that point of view to kind of get to chat in a more relaxed way, and it's been great the way that's been set up.
And having this chance to sort of be behind the scenes with those people, I think it's just a really unprecedented opportunity to sort of meet who's up and coming. I think it serves sort of a dual purpose. It's not just for the audiences, but it's also just a really fantastic opportunity for the designers.
everyone had a very interesting view. Everyone was different, and it was so comforting, and it's like a food for your heart. So it was very, very interesting. I'm glad to be here.
I think people are very overwhelmed when they arrive because for a lot of them it's their first time in the country. It's a beautiful city and the hospitality is amazing. That's one of the reasons why I come, I have to say. What I really enjoy is the conversations in between and the kind of sparking, dissecting, all of that, and generally just kind of being in a relaxed but creative atmosphere. It's perfect.
There's a level of interaction that happens at Design Indaba which they don't get in the huge design fairs that maybe happen elsewhere in the world. You're there as an individual. There isn't a sense of this collective. We really integrate it. Everybody's there together. You spend this super quality time with people for 7 days, and so many of the events are designed in a way to be able to create them. With having all the speakers and all the international media together, just gels Design Indaba and just helps in our relationship with everybody in that week.
It's very important, to be part of this community. You can get these things by meeting people and maybe having a good night or a good meal and talking about design, but also about life, and get fresh stories out of first hand.
Very inspired for me is how lucky I am with this unbelievable creative group. And sitting here all together, listen, because we need to learn to be in touch with the war, what's going on.
Oh, I think it is a wonderful way to expose the populace to new and different ideas. And it's kind of admirable and also enticing to somebody like me to come here and see that you have it all in front of you.
Being here and meeting with people we know from corners of the world really is, I think, a great way to celebrate a different way of seeing creativity or solutions. I thought it was very interesting to have individual personalities really soaring through the conference.
But for some reason, people here seem to have more fun going to the conference, and it's nice to see young creative people and to get a glimpse of what they do, how they think, how they work. It's really inspiring. It's really good.
Part of the construction of my pieces as a kind of logical decoration.
The most amazing thing about having the students here is to take the pulse of what the youth is thinking about, the edgiest work.
It shows the world a good sampling of what's happening around the world. And we have people from so many different countries, but in one way we're all unique. But what we're doing is completely different. So I kind of like that about Design Indaba.
Different kinds of filmmakers want different kinds of responses. I want you to be affected.
Our body does not end with our skin. It's actually continuously and invisibly expanding into space.
I'm loving having the students going beyond the classical silos of product design or architecture and just giving us a much wider palette than we've ever had before.
Somebody saw your talk at Design Indaba and they were talking to somebody else, and then you get this email which can kind of completely do great things and send you off in another direction.
One of the things about South Africa and Cape Town is it's so isolated. You're very cut off from what's happening globally. So it's really good to have that perspective come here and say, okay, this is what's going on, guys. And I think that's really important for us to become part of the global stage and really know where we are and start interacting globally.
Simulcast, for us, that was our audience. I mean, that's who we were presenting it to, because those are the artists who are the most attuned to the type of messages and subjects that we were talking about.
Instead of arresting Alexander, they actually came in that night and washed the tunnel and began to wash all the tunnels.
The simulcast has been very successful. It was sold out this year. It's so inspirational for them to be able to listen to the likes of Michael Beirut and Alejandro Aravina. It's just wonderful to be able to have that to share with them. It's starting to become a bit of a hub for design education.
Their minds are young and they're open and they're spongy and they want to absorb stuff, and it's like they're sitting in a lecture hall with the best possible design minds in the world, and there's nothing more special than that for a young student.
Especially in design, it feels like a lot of people just do stuff for themselves. But now, with this new movement that's happening, it's not just about us anymore. We realize that design is not just for us, it's for everyone.
There's definitely a trend of community, and having designers change, that it's more of a hybrid approach and not just the individual
It's just great to see so many people coming together and wanting to learn about design. They really want the information. They're not just passive subjects. Their ideas and their energy kind of filters back to us. That's really the exciting thing.
Having the chance to kind of meet them and talk to them easily, there's no kind of formality. It just kind of breezes between different things. So I never had that when I was going through my design education.
It's just to gain exposure, to know the industry more, just to know what you're dealing with. No matter which country it is, we have all the same issues. Helping one country helps the other, so we're all one.
I think there's a tendency in design to, especially in design education, to kind of specialize. And you have people studying how to be only a furniture designer, when I think you should study how to be a designer.
There are a lot of opportunities to see what's going on in film, and there are a lot of opportunities to see what's going on in events, but Design Indaba brings all the different forms of creativity together, and I think there's something so much more powerful about that than just looking at it from one particular angle.
It was mostly a movie that I wanted to watch as a fan of graphic design and sort of a closet graphic designer.
You have absolutely no idea where any of your thoughts come from, really.
If we have to live with advertising in a world of commerce, why can't it be better? Which seems to be the theme of the entire conference.
But one of the films we're showing at the festival is a film called Lucy's House, which is about the rural studio. In some ways it's related to what's going on with 10 by 10 and things like that. I actually think the whole film festival is a very smart idea because it means that it's another way for the conference to be outside this conference hall.
You could just get like snippets of each designer's opinions and ideas, but there's so much extra stuff. A few years ago when I didn't know what I wanted to study, I wanted to find out about industrial design and nothing was out there. I think it's great that finally someone actually made a movie about product design.
Creativity can redefine what we've already got, maybe make old things into new things.
I think Design Indaba is a bit different. Design Indaba is more about inspiration. I think people come out to Design Indaba to take the pulse of what the people in the world are doing right now. It's very, very important to be able to capture that.
Because a lot of the work is so solitary that to be able to come together and just kind of share the vibe is the great thing about these conferences.
I think there's an incredible awakening of designers thinking about how design can play different roles. So coming here is very exciting because there's so many people working on great things here.
All of these ideas and this energy that we derive from this week, we really convert them into projects.
It's just something that doesn't exist anyway. It's not, Design Indaba is not only an event. It's yes, it's a platform, a network, and it can exist outside Cape Town.
The project that was funded by the government of Singapore, where we looked at design in the year 2050, and pointedly with the intersection between farming and design, and we were able to tap into the Design Indaba alumni to be co-conspirators and cohorts on this project was truly remarkable. And then going into this other exciting fringe arenas of biotechnology and computer technology.
I never imagined that I will ever face the challenge of trying to design an organ, but it was really interesting.
The one thing that we all love about Design Indaba are these projects that are launched at the conference each year. This year we have 2 fabulous new projects.
We really believe life is a series of projects. We've got this prodigious global network. It would be such a shame just to invite somebody to one conference and then never really activate that relationship again.
We have been asked to make a product range for the Expo exhibitors.
The goal of our project is to design low-cost furniture for these families. The members of Freedom Park
who worked long and hard to get where they are, and we hope in all sincerity that these projects go some way towards improving their living conditions.
There is an attitude of doing thinking that is proactive. So whenever there's something like that happens, you want to be close.
What Design Indaba has created in terms of a brand image around the world is that we were one of those platforms on the planet that has always advocated the importance of design in improving the quality of life. Most of these projects aren't ivory tower, blueprinty academic projects. They're very, very real, with very, very real socioeconomic impact. To get people to understand the importance of design is to physically do it. It's to build it. We learned that with our 10 by 10 housing project.
In general, in countries like ours, Latin America or South Africa, we're forced to deal with scarcity. I think it's an extremely powerful antidote against arbitrariness, against what's not strictly necessary. And that might eventually completely change the entire approach to design.
This year, we took the view at the Design Indaba, for example, to focus on this basic component, where we focused on Brazil, South Africa, India, and China, and really to go to school on the experience of creatives working in an emerging economy. And we all seem to have similar kind of challenges.
There is life about design, and there is life about the human heart. Thank you very much.
There's a certain way of wanting to change the world for the better. I think it's fabulous.
That is amazing what you can transform with design like you do here and change information and ideas and take the world a better world for everybody.
And it's important that if you want to grow local, you have to extend yourself and flex internationally so that you grow local. You just can't talk amongst yourselves.
This is a difficult, massive question that requires professional quality. Because if so, we're going to be using that energy, added to that energy, and hopefully we get that type of thing. Thank you so much.
That's what happens in this week. You meet, you talk, you share some ideas, and thankfully, we're decisive enough to say, fantastic, that's a great idea, let's do it.
What I love about Design Indaba being here and why it needs to be focused here, always, is that notion of reflection. It's very easy to lose the core values that actually make you what you are in this pursuit of development. And I think there's lots of lessons there even for South Africa as a country. South Africans have claimed ownership of what design means for us.
I really think that over the past decade that Design Indaba has been around, there's been so much that has been showcased of South Africa.
I can tell you that most French and most Europeans are currently looking at South Africa not only because of the World Cup, but because of what is currently coming out of South Africa.
Thank you for giving the musicians of South Africa an opportunity to show how we are applying our creativity to one of the biggest challenges facing South Africa today.
Shout, I believe, will shake the very fabric of South Africa, reaffirming that South Africans are, by majority, inherently good people.
Shout, let it all out. These are the things I can do without.
South Africans generally, apart from being African, being warm, I think the fact that people have made the effort, we applaud that and we're thrilled by that.
And they bring in their ideas. You know, they come from very often from the center of ideas, and it's nice to show off our own with the expo here.
In order for you to be creative, you need to connect with the heart. You know, I think that's one thing I'm going to take home. And Design Indaba is the best. I'm going to be here next year again.
Design Indaba in South Africa is a local concept, and that's the kind of thinking I want to get back to my readers as well, is that passion in this industry, the fact that the creative industries can redesign a new world, not our politicians. As South Africans, we need to be exposed to the rest of the world, and that is what Design Indaba does best, in actually bringing that talent, particularly to the young people who are our future.
We couldn't do Design Indaba Expo at the scale we do it if we didn't have this global conference underpinning it. Because it's so symbiotic, it's so absolutely mutually beneficial. And the global conference brings a vast cast of people from all around the world, particularly global media. It is inextricably linked in being able to create this global event with a global conference and a fiercely local expo. At some stage, of course, the expo can grow beyond just being a pure South African play, but we needed this period to really incubate South African talent and really build critical mass. And at the appropriate time, when we believe we have got there, then we can start to be a bit more welcoming of other nationalities and other platforms from all around the world and make it an even bigger fair. We thought that against the backdrop of the Football World Cup, that why doesn't the Creative World Cup present itself and start to give recognition to our creative peers. And I think that should be something that we do on an ongoing basis and really start to bring a lot more attention to the exploits of the South African creatives.
I had expectation to meet some really interesting people, hear some interesting stuff, and that kind of blew it out of the water. It was, it's really amazing. When it comes to hospitality and especially rugby, it was fantastic because you set up an environment where you encourage dialogue. And especially for me, I think coming, I work with food, which is also design, but coming in to hear about designers, it's very inspirational that way.
You can completely indulge in making new friendships. It's amazing, really, really amazing. I really enjoyed the talks. Seeing Alejandro Aravera speaking yesterday completely changed my life.
I live in New York and everyone complains in New York. Here, everyone is so friendly, so optimistic, so positive to do instead of sit back and complain. It's something that I'm really impressed with.
I came with a specific commission, which is to write a piece about South African design and how it seems to be burgeoning and is enriched by everything that's happening here at the moment. I didn't want people just thinking about football. I wanted them to look at more other interesting aspects and other interesting things that are happening in South Africa, because I think it's so much more than just design. It's social, it's cultural, it's everything.
One of the greatest things in my life, really, one of the best opportunities for coming to Cape Town, particularly the Indaba Conference, which I think is the best design conference in the world. And I've seen many people that talk more about the intellectual aspect of design than people that talk about the fantasies of design, the crazy aspect, and even the commercial aspect. So from glitter to great design and science, everything is covered by Indaba. It's unique. I'm happy to be here.
We're really in the moment, enjoying each other's company, and you're almost gorging on it and trying to find the last possible opportunities to do it. And we know that the conference triggers so many things that you just can't leave it there. It needs a proper resolve. It needs that extra 2 days of percolation and discussion as well. And then you feel that you've had a wholesome time.